So I thought I would take a few minutes to talk about this 1983 Jeep CJ8, or Scrambler as they were called. This was basically Jeep's pickup version of their utilitarian vehicle Jeep. Pretty badass rig here. Understand though that this transformation into what you see today didn't happen overnight. This Jeep still wears its original paint, well, at least what's left of it. This Jeep came to me about 9 years ago. It was in its original trim, original stance, inline 6, T5 5-speed Dana 300 transfer case. It was pretty capable. Tim and his wife, they wanted to go wheel and they wanted to go have fun, but they kept breaking things. So we decided to start doing some upgrades. We started with hardened shafts in the Dana 30 front axle, 411 gears, and aux lockers. We also put an aux locker in the Dana 20 rear with hardened shafts as well, and their wheeling went quite well. But then they started to break some other things, and one thing led to another, and I spent a winter putting an LS3 into this, which was quite a fun project actually. We used a Mast Motorsports engine controller. It's a standalone engine controller. They're commonly used in airboats and stuff like this. It's a great little compact unit, completely standalone. It has its own comm link that you can use a laptop and see all your data. It's actually a really well engineered piece for Mast Motorsports. I love their standalone ECU. This Jeep, the LS3, we dropped the LS3 in this thing, and at the same time we put an NV4500 5-speed in it. The NV4500 is a heavy-duty truck transmission, so you're not going to break that. So while we were putting the NV4500 and the LS3 into this Jeep Scrambler, we also decided, man, with all that 300 horse and fuel injection and all that power and Tim's heavy foot, we're going to need more fuel capacity. So I designed an oversized fuel cell that holds roughly 28 gallons of fuel, and through trial and error we finally figured out a good way to have the fuel pickups work so that no matter what angle he had the Jeep at, he was always getting fuel. And I ended up using 4-point Walbros, which Walbros are a spring-loaded fuel pickup. They work through fluid tension. And there's one at each corner of the fuel tank, so no matter where this thing's at, there's always a Walbro that's covered in fuel, and when the other ones are out of fuel, they close and allow the other one to draw fuel. So that was a pretty fun and creative solution to come up with. So after a couple years went by, he was kind of breaking stuff again. The reality is Tim doesn't like to break down on the trails. So we had the LS3 in place, the NV4500. He shipped this truck off out west to get Dana Rock 60s put under it. So it got upgraded to Dana Rock 60s front and rear. It's an outboard leaf sprung front suspension with BDS front shocks. And then the rear is a full custom 4-link setup with Fox long travel remote reservoir shocks in the rear. This thing will articulate and go over anything you want it to do. So Tim was out wheeling and he had a slip stick situation, and he ended up breaking the rear drive shaft and both front outer stubs. So once again we upgraded his Dana Rock 60s with even beefier complete full-length shafts and another heavy-duty rear drive shaft. So unfortunately, now that we had all the drive shafts and axles and the engine, we got 300 horse going through that NV4500, that Dana 300, even with a Terralo setup, wasn't holding up to snuff anymore. So in comes an Advanced Adapters Terralo. Very nice unit. That's been in here for, I don't know, about 2 years, and it's been treating him pretty well. So this vehicle's had an LS3 in it for 9 years, running a Mast Motorsports ECU controller. My air compressor just kicked on. So I'll be honest with you, this Jeep is an absolute pleasure to drive if you're into Jeeps. It's bumpy, it's utilitarian, it's cold to drive in it. at least right now, because it's like 24 degrees out today. But I drove this thing all over today. We've been sorting out a couple minor issues that arose, and he brought it back to us so we could sort out these issues. We put the fuel pump in it. As you can see, we pulled the tank down, made some repairs to the fuel pump, the in-tank fuel line. I have a soft spot in my heart for this thing. I've seen it from just a base stock Scrambler to turn into what it is now 10 years later. And this thing's a beast. It's an absolute joy to ride or drive in. You hit the loud pedal and it just goes. And it's just a joy. It turns heads. It'll go over anything. It'll go anywhere. If you want to do it in this thing, it'll do it. So cool. So it's snowing and it's 24 degrees outside. I got to go on a test drive so that this Mast Motorsports ECM can relearn itself. Actually a pretty impressive piece of equipment. Lots of live data can be accessed through it, but right now I'm kind of dreading this drive. It's going to be cold. So, see how it feels. You want to get the door for me? Yeah.
Not want to be driving, but it's cold and snowing outside.
Seat belts for safety. There we go. Oh, man, you're not going anywhere in this side. So, seat belts for safety. Thought I'd take you guys for a little ride in Tim's 300 horsepower LS powered Jeep Scrambler. 1983 Jeep Scrambler. It's been pretty much driven in all of the worst places you could possibly take it. Deserts, water crossings, sand dunes, mud. These guys take this thing everywhere, and it's awesome. This Jeep has served them pretty well. It came in for a couple minor things, but figured I'd give you a little test drive so you can hear this thing roar. When it breathes, it breathes loud and heavy. This vehicle does not have any sway bars in it to help with articulation off the road, but he does still drive this thing around on the streets when he's playing at home, going to work and whatnot, going to get dog food for his dogs. Got plenty of room in the back for dog food. So I'm going to fire this thing up and take you for a drive. You're probably not going to be able to hear me talk once this thing's running. So enjoy the ride. Oh, that's not too bad. Detroit locker's kicking in on those tight turns. minor camera fail there. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. I just wanted to show this Jeep off and talk about it a little bit. We've been servicing this vehicle for over 9 years. I have a soft spot in my heart for this thing. I've seen it from just a base stock Scrambler to turn into what it is now 10 years later. And this thing's a beast. It's an absolute joy to ride or drive in. You hit the loud pedal and it just goes. And it's just a joy. It turns heads, it'll go over anything, it'll go anywhere. If you want to do it in this thing, it'll do it. Thanks for watching our bid on Tim's CJ8. This thing's pretty stout, fun to drive. If you're ever out in Moab or up in the sand dunes in Michigan or on any other dirt trail in the United States, you might see Tim and his wife out scrambling around. They haul this thing all over the country and they enjoy it quite a bit, and I'm proud of them for how much they do actually use this thing and get out and enjoy it. So if you like the stuff we're putting out, please hit subscribe, give us a like, leave us a comment, ask us a question. We're happy to give you feedback. We love to hear your feedback for the stuff we show you. With that said, this is one of those vehicles it's taken 10 years, 9 years, 10 years, somewhere in that area. I think it's like 9 years since I put the engine in it. I've been servicing the vehicle for over 10 years. It's taken 10 years to get this vehicle to where the customer is finally got it 100% where he wants it. And it's really a sight to see this thing riding wheelies up hills. And it does ride wheelies up hills. I have video evidence of that. Before we put the big axles in it, actually. Such a cool ride. Thanks for watching.